record. And I will admit all. And I disabled the waiting room.
Hey. Hi, everybody.
No, Hades. She's outside my door.
That's the problem with cats in the same thing. You know, Zoom, you got to have cats or dogs doing photo
All right,
bombs.
I let her in.
I got several here. Like I got Stevie doing circles, coming around, you know, and trying to basically get himself up here. And usually I hold him up here, but you know.
Nancy, I'm gonna spotlight you and Vera, so
Okay.
so that your pictures are bigger.
There you go.
All right. Welcome to our Meet the Author panel, where we get to get up close and personal with Vera, which is always an interesting thing. By the way, for those of you who don't know, who have never met Vera in person, Vera gives the most awesome hugs.
Oh my goodness.
Now, Vera, let's get started here. Can you tell us what's new this year in the Atlantis Grail series universe?
Oh my goodness, there is a lot. Well, first of all, some of you who have been following along over the past year in 2023, I started to expand the universe by doing writing kind of a very spicy novel called Untitled Days. And talking about cat photobombs, I have a cat trying to climb my back. Hold on a second. No. So I have expanded the universe by inserting an previously unplanned novel, which basically is not, it's not YA, it's for 18 and above. And this novel not only talks about Gwen and Aeson's honeymoon, but it also covers some other things that will later show up in the actual next book that is planned, which is, the next book in the original series is the Book of Everything. And some of the stuff that was being kind of like hinted at and is starting to show up in the Untitled Days book is going to be covered later again. But you're getting kind of like an early, early glimpse at what the characters are going through, because Untitled Days, which I will talk about later in its own panel, the spicy 18 and above panel, is the time period which happens right after the end of Survive, but before the epilogue. So it's actually before, it's like Survive, you insert into Survive. So
in other words, it's the honeymoon and Gwen's pregnant.
Yeah, it's Gwen is just pregnant with their first baby, and it's the honeymoon period, and as they're traveling around the world. But so that's one thing that's new. The second thing is I'm progressively getting closer to the end of Alice. Alice, of course, is the first book of the prequel series, Dawn of the Atlantis Grail. Now, you know that we have planned, the prequel series is a deep dive into ancient history. So it jumps back 10,000 Atlantean years, which is approximately 12,500 or so Earth years, which is ancient Atlantis. And what happens is it's like it expands the story, but also it returns back to the original series. And I can't give you the spoilers of how it happens, but it's like this big bubble. Suddenly you get so much more stuff. So right now we're on the first book, Alice, and we are Alice is going to be featuring some of the characters that were basically vaguely mentioned or firmly mentioned in Survive. For example, Semi, you find out who that is, and there's going to be more about Princess Arlenari, which is the one in the coffin, in the sarcophagus, which they found in Survive. And there's a whole new cast of fun characters. For example, people who have been reading along, because this is being serialized. You can actually read else as I'm writing it. This is on my Ream and my Patreon, again, which I will be talking about more later. Those are paid platforms because as I'm writing, I need to make a living. So I decided that I'm going to be posting these books as is. They're rough drafts. They're not final, of course, but you guys want to read them faster than I can write them because I can only write so fast. And because my books are door stoppers, one book is usually the equivalent of 2 or even more books. You know, it just looks that way that I'm taking forever, but it's actually, you know, I'm reasonably, the speed is reasonable for any standard published, like traditional publishing is pretty much the same speed. It's about a book a year. But anyway, because these are huge books, it's taking about 2 years. So we are getting to the point where at least at the middle point of else, and stuff is going to get really, really intensely expansive right now. People who have been reading along, they have met some interesting characters, including, I'm going to give a little spoiler for people who have not read Alice yet, because it's just fun. It's not a big deal, but there's a character who goes by the man in the Nyctos cloak. And this character is, if you have been familiar with the story of Zorro or the Scarlet Pimpernel, it's a little bit like that. But I cannot tell you anything else. But there's a character who goes around and does these things. But in the day, there's noble person, and at night they go and they do these.
Definitely a Zorro type. And
Right,
I would say
because he has a Nyctos cloak. It's a black cloak. So this character, but the things that he also does, I cannot even begin to tell you. So there's like a lot of fun stuff happening with that. In the meantime, you get Semi. Semi is about to meet Arlenari. They have not come together yet. These two characters we talked about in Survive, barely mentioned them. They're about to meet, and that's going to be where a lot of crazy things happen. So Survive is
also
Alice,
the man in the Nyctos cloak is a relative of someone else who was introduced in Survive.
that's right. That person is a relative of a character who was literally named by name in Survive. And it's like a little sneaky thing. You have to dig around and
You're
find out
always
what I'm
you're
talking
always
about.
pulling some little sneaky
Yeah,
stuff.
there's a lot of
One
little
thing-
sneaky things like that. So
one of
Survive
the,
has planted the seeds everywhere, and you have like little character names popping here and there, and then they come to life in the prequel series, and you're going to be fascinated by, oh my goodness, what's happening. Now, the other thing about the prequel series is it parallels some of the flow of the story in terms of the original series. Like in Qualified, we had qualification. Well, here we have in EOS, we have ancient qualification, because guess what? They have the original asteroid about to hit ancient Earth. That's when all that stuff happened, when the Atlanteans took up and picked up everything and finally left Earth. And there was a big, horrible cataclysm. So that's the story on that first book. So you're going to get a lot of that. And it's the urgency of this, disaster about to destroy Earth. And there are people running around trying to save themselves. And our characters are slowly getting introduced to each other. The threads are coming together. So it's a really big story. And some of the things that's like, as I write them, I discover them myself, because you may have heard me say this before. I am a discovery writer. I'm a pantser, which means that I write like, I know basic things that have to happen, but the details just pop up. And sometimes the details are new characters. And I'm like, whoa, okay, hello. We have now this character showing up. Or hello, we have that character. And then they come together and they start acting, and it enriches the details of the story. But so there's a whole big cast of fun new characters you're going to be like falling for and getting excited about. And there's already going to be a little romantic thing happening, and good stuff. You will be surprised though. That's the general idea that's happening. And hopefully we will have else. I am determined it has to be out this year because I gotta live, you guys. This is my job because not only is it fun for you, but this is how I work. So I gotta have else out for you, and it's gonna be another big.
Well, it would be nice if it could be December 14th because
I
that
wanna
will
do it
be,
sooner.
no, let me. That will be the 10th anniversary of when Qualify came out.
Oh my goodness, yes, because
Can you, it's hard to
2014.
believe that,
Wow.
Qualify came out 10, almost, 9 years ago, but in December of this year, it will
Yeah.
be 10 years.
Oh my goodness, can you believe it? It's been 10
I
years
know.
we've had this thing. I cannot believe we've had this. And it felt like,
It's,
It's a
because I
big
waited,
series.
let's see, almost all, yeah, I think so. I
Yeah.
finished Compete and then, no, I finished Qualified. Compete wasn't out yet, but it was only like a month or so after I had read it.
Yeah.
And then we started the forum and then we did we were doing all the speculation on When, and then When came out, and then we started speculating on Survive, and then Survive came out. And now we have the People of the Atlantis Grail, the Tag Companion. We've got Ace in Blue and Ace in Black.
Yeah,
So we
all
have
the
a lot.
little stories, because as we had in 2020 was the last time I had a big book. So that was so it's been a long span. We had 4 years between big books, but I have, you got a lot, you got 4 other little books in the meantime. So you had, as I was working on, starting to get my headspace into this ancient world, which is like a big thing, because writing this stuff, I have to fact check myself. I have to go back and everything. So it takes much longer than normal. If this was just a brand new whatever series or book, I could go faster, but I can't because I have to fact check everything, and I have to double back and look things up in the original books and see who, where. So yeah, it takes a while. But you had 2 fan reference guides and you had 2 novellas in the meantime. So you did have something. But now you have the paid platforms where you can go to Ream or Patreon, which we'll talk about that more. But you are getting the stories
and
as they
that's
happen.
That brings up the next question. On Ream, you have the tag Easter eggs, which are posted exclusively on Ream.
That's
Tell
right.
us about those Easter eggs.
Okay, everybody loves Easter eggs. Now, for somebody who may not know what that is, it's like the secret nugget of like an inside joke or inside information that an author, or most of us, put something in. Like most authors, when they write, we come up with little nuggets of something that we imbue in either a character or a detail in the book, and it's like a little in joke. So there have been some things that I've been putting in those books, and I am revealing those Easter eggs to you on Ream. So we've had, I believe, at least 3 or 4 we've had so far. So
well, there's Bree's purple hair.
Right. What's the deal with Bree's purple hair? That's a little thing. Then we have the chicken sea.
Yes.
Because the chicken sea is something that you have not had in the actual books. So what the heck is the chicken sea? But I tell you what the chicken sea is and why.
Another thing that you've come up with and you've hinted at, and we do have parts of it, is the Atlantis Grail Zodiac. How do we find our astrological sign?
Okay, that's a great question. I decided, this has been something that I wanted to do for a while, but it is a kind of a big thing because it takes thinking, it takes this kind of like a psychological analysis thing. So I basically came up with a system of personalities. And in Atlantis, you don't have, oh, look at this. Is that Hades? Is that there?
This is Hades.
This is Hades watching us. There we go. Adorable Hades.
And Aeson's down on the floor looking, say, okay, no, you got to put her down because it's my turn. Come on, Aeson.
So anyway, the idea of the zodiac I came about, and that's Aeson. We have on Atlantis, they don't predict the future with astrology. Like on Earth, you have the idea of astrology was like, you know, ancient astrologers would come around, and these noble people and kings would ask them questions, and people would tell them their fate based on the stars and so on. Well, in Atlantis, it's different. They don't care about the fate because they don't believe in like predicting things, but they look at the personality. So supposedly the stars in Atlantis would be predicting the type of personality that the child who is born at that time is. And Atlantean astrology is based literally on months. So you would have, there's 16 months in the calendar. There's 16 Atlantean months, and there's 16 signs. On Earth, we have 12 signs, and they're a little bit off. They're not exactly on the months. They're like halfway in the actual astrology on Earth. But on Atlantis, it's exactly. So if you're, you know, red Amrevet, let's say that's a month, that would be one sign. And these signs, I thought really hard. And again, for those of you who may not know this, I was a psychology major, and I've always been fascinated with like psychology and personality types and all these things. And so this is actually my system of taking characters that we know and love and assigning them to personality types, and then kind of widening it out, and so that it can be applied to people, like to all of us in real life. So the Atlantean Zodiac is going to be a book, but for now I'm going slowly. I have all the signs already listed, and they're available to, you can look them up on that, on the link, which is the Atlantean calendar, which I think if we can put that in the chat, I think you can see it. It's the, I don't know if you guys can see it, but there's a link to visit the calendar. So first thing you would do is you would go to the calendar, you look up your date. So you would enter your Earth date, and you would convert it to the Atlantean month, day and month, but the month is what counts. So then you can look down the page, there's a list of all the signs. So you can see which month you get as your birth date month, and that's going to be your Atlantean sign. And what I'm doing now is on Ream exclusively, actually, no, I'm sorry, on Ream and Patreon, you're getting them in both places. So on Ream and Patreon, I'm slowly serializing the months, the signs. We already had one posted. I think we had, which one I don't remember. Anyway, we had one of the signs.
Yeah, I remember. It was actually it was a fan choice, because you
get it's always a fan choice, because you vote. There are people who get on Patreon, you get to vote which of the signs you want to go for next. So whatever they picked, I wrote that up. I gave you the psychological profile. So I made a profile, and then you can see how well it matches people. And some people have actually said that, oh, okay, that kind of matches. I'm like, well, fine, we'll see. So, and each one will be related to characters. So for example, at the end of the profile, you will see this one is, I think it was Nephir. Nephir Mekay was the person who fell under that sign, you know. Nephir, you know who that is. So anyway, but it doesn't mean if
Mr. Sneaky Sneak.
Right, sneak. It doesn't mean that you're a negative person just because you had a character who's a negative character. So just like there's always good and bad sides to all signs, and same thing for Atlantean signs. So it's fun. So this is just strictly fun. There's no anything. It's just a personality profiler for fun. So check it out. And there's more coming. More signs will be coming. So
all right, now I will mention that in the Amravet days, because you're also kind of advancing the story a little bit. Yeah. I really do like the Farrakhan of New Deshret. I mean, that old guy is he's hilarious.
Yes, you got to meet him again after, because one of the visit stops that Gwen and Asen made on their honeymoon was to New Deshret. And they visited these special desert springs. And then the Farrakhan found out they were there, because it's like an international casual visit. So he said, come on down. And so they had this dinner visit with him. And they found out certain things about him and his family and other things. So yeah, you find out more.
And I mean, I mean, you could tell in their interactions he really loves Gwen.
He's a sneaky old guy, and he's a nice guy. That's one thing you learn, that he is a good, positive character. But sometimes he comes across as this kind of like sneaky, suspicious, but he's not. He's
a ruler of a rival country. I mean, I'm sure he was not like that with Aeson's grandfather.
Yeah, he was
he did not like Ramatot.
Yes, with Ramatot, he was very, very critical, and he tried to keep him in check, because Ramatot was just like this, an unbalanced,
loose cannon.
Basically, loose cannon, and just really, with cruel tendencies, and just really dark side to them. So, and this is something that you may recall. I believe we had some of that in Win and Survive. We had the Fariko and Yudashret was like, no, this is you're not going to get away with this stuff.
But so, he does. I mean, he does like Aeson, and he has the utmost respect and admiration for Gwen.
Yeah,
and that is just, to me, is just amazing the way he treats her.
Yeah, he was very good to Gwen. Yeah,
and he's. For someone so young and him so old, but he's a character. I mean, he's definitely a character.
He's a funny character. He's actually a pretty funny character. He has a sense of humor. In some ways,
he does remind me a bit of one of my great grandmothers, who lived to be in her mid-90s. And as she got older, she became a bit more set in her ways, but she wasn't afraid to tell you what was on her mind. And most of the time, she made sense. She was definitely a character. So you've mentioned a little bit, Vera, about world building. You're going ancient, and we know that is difficult.
It's layered. It's that what makes it difficult. It's not so much the story itself, it's just putting everything so it still works within the tag universe, because you can't just make things up that are like going to change the past facts. The facts have been written in stone, and then you have to use the same facts to advance the story in the ancient days. So, yep.
Now, as far as Eos, we've talked a little bit. Can you tell us any more about any of the characters? We've met Semi. We've met her family. We've not met Arlenari yet. Her
Arlenari is
brother
coming. You sort of saw her mentioned, because she's the princess, and she's the imperial family. She's been mentioned as like this weirdo.
She's kind of mentioned as an airhead.
Well, not just an airhead, but like people think that the princess is a little cuckoo.
Well, let's just say she's a bit eccentric.
Eccentric, yes, and that's our Arlenari. But you will get to know her very soon as the connection is made, which is happening like in a couple of chapters. So Semi and Arlenari will come, and how it happens, you're going to be amazed. So it's going to be fun.
We've heard mention of her brother, her older brother.
Narmera Dad would just be the only Cassiope heir that Aeson knew about, because when they found the sarcophagus and she was really all the kind of the genealogy was being mentioned there. They were all like, who are these people? I don't know these Cassiope. Why? The only one he did know was Narmeradat, which is the son of Blessed Churu, was the old imperator at that time. But Narmeradat is, let's just say that you know what Ronfutat was like? Well, Narmeradat is worse. He is not.
Well, I was just going to say he was going to be a little stinker, but
not a little stinker, a pretty big stinker,
a big one,
really bad, like way worse. So yeah, you're gonna have some really strange conflicts. And On the other hand, you will find out that the other brother, Oron, is very good. And Oron is a very, very important character. And you will see why. So he's
And
the
well,
twin
that's
brother.
Alinari's.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
Arlenari and
her
Oron
brother.
are twin brother and sister, imperial children. So you will find out that those children are great. The older brother is horrible, horrible. But the Arlenari and her brother are really good characters. So that's coming up, and you will find out what's the deal with Oron. And because remember, he was the one who was left behind on Earth, and he was disowned. His memory was stricken from the books because how dare he stay behind and disobey his parents and all that. So yeah, and you will find out how, why, and what. So that's gonna be
And
fantastic.
those are some of the things that, plus the character development. And I mean the Pegasi.
Oh yeah, you're getting we are getting our first glimpse of the Pegasi in the ancient days, in the ancient Atlantis, how they were. Like you will see characters interacting with the original Pegasi at that time, and how they have no concept that these are sentient beings. They just think they're animals. They're just hurting her. They're selling them. They think they're like, fancy, these interesting, weird animals that they're,
Well,
pets
and
being
they
held.
do have a purpose for them, which we find out in Survive what they use them for, which is sad.
Yeah,
because they don't know.
they basically at some point they decide that they can use them to keep the black hole, the what do you call it, like the wormhole open. So
Mhm.
that's one of it, but there's more. I mean, they're being used for other things. So because they are shapeshifters. So we know that Pegasi are, you've seen that happen, and you've seen how they've been shapeshifting along and transforming. They're quantum entities. So, and part of that is something that the ancients have been using. So they like the fact that they can shapeshift. But, yes.
Okay, are you ready for some questions from the audience?
Let's have it.
Okay, I have someone Mary is asking, have you definitely decided which novella you will write next?
I'm decided on either Zelio or Brie, and I think it may be either one of these will be up next. So that's definitely probably Zelio, but maybe Brie. But those two are up like neck and neck. So yeah, we shall have those.
All right. Lark Ascending is asking, it might say maybe a little too early, but nonetheless, do you plan to do novellas for Dawn or any of the other Gebby?
We could do them, because the thing about novellas is that they're unlimited. Whatever you guys are interested in, I will have novellas for these characters. And we already have a list that are, the primary main characters that we want to cover in the novellas, but there's no limit to these stories. So whoever, I even have a novella planned for the Aussie guy. Now, this is a running joke. It's not really an Easter egg, but for those who are unfamiliar with what I'm talking about, in Compete, when they just got onto the Ark ships, and remember all the earthy refugees were up there, and at some point Gwen was in the room listening with a bunch of other people. They were listening to the address by the main commander, Manakteon Resoy, the commander of the fleet, was talking. And at the same time, this one nameless character, an Australian boy, said something about, and this one-liner, he had like a one-liner too, with no name, but everybody got really excited. For some reason, people thought he was like sexy, or without knowing anything more about this one character. So, and we call him the Aussie guy now, but he's going to have a novella, and it's going to be hilarious, and he's going to have a name.
Yeah,
you will find out the Aussie guy's name in his own novella. It's going to be something.
Novellas are fun because we get different points of view. You know, we get used to, you know, Gwen's point of view, and, you know, shows her youth, I guess is the best way to put that.
Yeah.
And her inexperience, her social awkwardness. And then in Omrivet Days, you did have a chapter on Aeson's point of view, which was
That's right. We switched. We because all the other original chapters are from Gwen's point of view in the spicy book, but we just had one from, it's a surprise, Aeson's point of view chapter as they're having their spicy times. So interesting stuff. Now we're going to be going back and forth, and we're not going to have a lot of Aeson POVs because it's just they're very specific. So he will be back again with more POV chapters, but it's mostly Gwen for now. So it's Gwen and Aeson switching back and forth, but mostly Gwen.
okay. Harriet is saying a novella for Anne would be wonderful.
And now I don't know if I want to do a spoiler here. I'm thinking, should I do the spoiler? I don't know. But anyway, so Anne Finbar will probably have a novella. Yeah.
Really?
She may have a novella because she was back on Earth when all this stuff was happening, just like George. And because there is a situation where people were still trying to go to school as the world is falling apart, you know. People, all these poor, sad Earth people who did not qualify, all the teenagers who were like, you know, disqualified. So what's happening with them? Because I may have not just George's novella, but we may have an Anne novella. But for now, this is like a later thing. Like if it happens, it'll be like,
well, yeah, I could see Anne mixed in with some others.
well, also Anne will be mentioned again in the Book of Everything. So you may have something
really
in the book. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes,
I mean, it's kind of just, I mean, the whole thing with Anne is kind of a thing with me. I mean, she's part of the past. Does she really need to be
but
part
just
of the
because,
future?
well, she does not need to, but she may show up, and it doesn't mean that it's not a big deal, but she's one of people in Anne's life. So hey, we sometimes
well, I mean,
get
like
people coming.
Yeah, she was part of her past, but now their presence and futures are so totally different that I just it's just
Right, but again, it's something that we don't have to rush with, and all these stories of these different people, because everybody wants to know more about all the different characters. And I think somebody just said something in chat that they would rather have the novels, and I agree. You know, you want to have the big novels coming out, and I will have a novella, but not until Eos. You don't worry, you're getting Eos first. There's nothing else will be coming out.
well, you got to make the money. You got to make your money on the big books.
Well, not just the money, but the story itself. You need that story coming out first, and then, you know, we may take a breather, but no, we're going, because it's going to be, once it takes off, the story makes itself and it goes faster and faster. So, you know, I think part of the problem with the first book of the prequel was I had to like focus on it, figure out all the little things, how it's like a big jumping point for the ancients. So now we have that's in place.
Well, you not only had the world building, we knew a little bit about a few of the characters. So those characters have to be totally fleshed out because, you know, without Semi, there is no Book of Everything.
Right. And you had to have, not only did you have to have the ones that are mentioned, but also some people who are unmentioned, new characters will show up, and you will be really fun. You would like them a lot because they're, you know, they're real people living their own real lives in this ancient, weirdly technological world. Because ancient Atlantis is like this kind of like an island of technology in a cave people type of world. So everywhere else outside Atlantis, they're primitive cultures. People have not really, they're like, you know, ice age level people. So you're gonna get that type of you know, mingling of, here's Atlantis with its high-tech, crazy, you know, sound base and other technology, and here's everybody else. So because they're kind of like very not only authoritarian, but Atlantis is kind of like, here we are, we want to do whatever we want to do. We're the best, we're the most technological, we're the smartest. Everybody else is they do have laborers and slaves that we haven't really talked about that, but the ancient world had slaves, and it's kind of like,
even
it's not a
in-
good thing. It's the terrible thing, but there were some aspects of that. So yeah.
Well,
and
I mean,
that's-
and we see in Eos that the gap, I'm going to say it's more like a cavern, a chasm between the wealthy and the poor is tremendous. I mean, the poor are functionally illiterate.
And
They
these are
can't
the lucky
read.
poor. These people are the poor of the city, because Poseidon, the original Atlantean capital city, Poseidon, those people who live in Poseidon, it's concentric circles, and the outer circles are the poor. So they start going in, and like circle 10 are like the pits. They're literally called Denwin's pit, because they're like, really, really the rabble, horrible, sad, so they're treated as these barely third class citizens. And then you start going in, circle 2, 3, 4, 5, and as it gets closer and closer, they're richer, more fancier. So you can kind of think of the divisions of high court, middle court, low court, and then no court, whatever, ordinary people. So
And
then in the
citizens,
middle
and then
is like,
non-citizens.
yeah.
Okay, we have a question from Nikki. She wanted to know, did the Earthies that were on the ship, but not going to Atlantis, were they taught other languages of the world?
They had to have glasses, because once it was determined where they were going, and that was not determined until kind of halfway into the journey, because they were at first they were organizing it. It's like, just think of it, you've been dumped, all these people are dumped, then they start to discover what they're like. Maybe they take more aptitude tests, they do take tests throughout to learn about this. Then they say, okay, let's say you're suitable to be placed in Eos Heket or New District, and then because of that, you will start taking this other course with their language and more focus on their culture, because you're not going to Poseidon, you're not going to Imperial Atlantida, you're just one of the people who go. It's not like it's a bad thing. It's just you had to have space for everybody, and Atlantida
Well, and
couldn't
I
take
can
everyone.
I can actually see ships dedicated to, okay, Arc ship 15 is going to New District.
Sure.
So they will
And
learn,
that's
they will
kind of
learn
what
Dashi.
happened. Yeah, they would kind of separate people, and at least not even if it's a whole ship, but like partially, if it's a really small nation, then they would have, just portions of the ship will be dedicated to people. So they will move people around the ships, settle them into that section. If you're like a civilian, green quadrant civilian, whatever, you would go to some section of a ship with other people who are also going to that nation. And yeah, that makes
Well,
absolute sense.
I said New District because I figured, they got
Yeah, they got a lot.
probably an equal portion of people that went to Imperial Atlantida.
Right. All the biggest nations got the biggest people, obviously, and Atlantida was like, they got the bulk of them, but then other people got other people too. So, yep, good question. This is a good question.
Does anybody else have any other questions for Vera? We've talked about characters. You've hinted at different things on Patreon and Ream, which we will discuss in more detail during the fan chat. The Amravet days, we do have a dedicated panel to that, so we'll be discussing that evening our time.
Yeah.
I always have to say that because I keep forgetting that there's people all over the world that watch this, and it may not be evening their time, it might be early in the morning.
Right. You could be having a morning time, or you could be at night right now. So we don't know. This is Eastern time. So we're at Eastern time, and it's approximately, whatever our, schedule is. Morning, mid-morning.
True. It's
But-
it's almost lunchtime, and I've only had my coffee this morning, so I'll have to take my own little break and
Well, one thing that I do want to mention is that as the story is being written, there's some interesting things, and my producer is going to talk about it. So, but there's some interesting ways how they can handle the story during filming, because filming these things, having to go back and forth in time and other things. You know how some shows start switching and kind of giving you the back history of characters in the old days, and they flip back. So some of it may actually happen if, you know, however things progress. But anyway, that's for later. So this is just because this story is so much of a back and forth in time all the time, you know, original series, prequel series. But as the prequel series comes to a close and things are filled out, you will see how it's important to kind of go back and forth in time to show a lot of these things. So,
well,
it's
I mean,
complicated.
it's important to, number one, understand, all right, we read the snippets from the Book of Everything that Semi and Arlenari had written. Well, and we know that Semi becomes a famous novelist with many published works, primarily the Starlight Sorceress series, which, you know,
Well,
all children
what happens
knew.
is Semi becomes this another anonymous, because there's Semi, then there's Semiram, which is the Semiram cycle. That's the story, the ancient cycle of stories that people know about in Atlantis, but they still don't know who Semiram is either. But that's
Well,
Semi.
and her name is actually Semi. Well, I won't, because that's probably a super spoiler.
Right, it's a little bit of a spoiler, so we're not going to get into it. But
so we'll just say we'll say Semi and Semiram, because those are mentioned in Survivor.
Right, those are mentioned, but you will get the full name. Semi's full name is important. So Semi's full name is revealed in Eros as we're writing it along, and people who have been reading the serialized, they know what that is. But I can't say any more because, yeah, spoilers. See, this is so annoying because I don't want to spoil things for you, but I know some of you know some things, but others don't. So we're going to assume that people don't, because you haven't been so can't talk about the man in the necklace,
even know,
can't talk about Sammy, can't talk,
Yeah, well, and that's just, I mean, we can talk about them on the Facebook spoilers group, but not the Ostradamon and Shoelace Girls group, because that's a no spoiler group. But then again, we can talk about anything on the ProBoards forum, because that is definitely, I mean, if folks have not signed up for that, it can be a bit daunting.
Yeah, the forum is it's like an old BBS or bulletin board style system. So people who are used to modern social media may be kind of off-put by that, but people who have been using older type computer systems, bulletin boards, that's the forum is in that format, and it's just weird.
And you can read a lot of our craziness from several years ago, because we're going on what, 8 years, I think.
Yeah, it's been the forum is like, oh my goodness, it's been around.
You know, so I mean, we had some really crazy ideas, and some of them came true, and some of them got, no, that's not right.
Wait, the funny thing is, when I was reading you guys making guesses about certain things, I'm going, no, or like, yeah, that's true. So yeah, there have been some fun threads there, because forum is threaded, so you can read all these things. Unlike Facebook or somewhere like that, where you have to it disappear. Like you get a post on Facebook and it's gone, or whatever. You have to search for, you can never find it again, or whatever. You know, with forum, you can find everything. It's searchable, it's organized, and you know, it's a better system in some ways.
It real, and I agree with you on that.
But you know, I do want to mention that those of us, we have that extra, we have the new tag page for TagCon. So look for that, because we have obviously the Atlantis Grail page. We have the Atlantis Grail spoilers group. We have Ostradamon and Shoelace Girls main group, which is just not really spoilers, but general. And we have now the TagCon group. So I mean TagCon page. So we have
convention.
2 pages and 2 groups on Facebook. Four things on Facebook, so you can check that out. And of course, the other thing is, if you want to sign up for my newsletter, then you're pretty much guaranteed to hear things. Because my newsletter, I send it out usually no more than once a month, maybe even less, sometimes every other month or so, whatever something happens. But I do send things about, what's happening with what's the latest convention news, if there's an update with the books being released soon or not, if there's a new cover. And also I do send out a lot of freebie books, like other fellow authors, when they're having free or sales, I mentioned that. So if you're interested to get any of that information, you will be getting good sales information, such as, what is it? We have the Stuff Your Kindle Day type of stuff, where you have
those are super fun.
Those are fun. So I put that in the newsletter because that's what we do. Writers share our information and we pass it along to you. So join and you can sign up. If you go to my website, you can just sign up there. It's veranazarian.com/signup.html, I believe. So yeah, you can just join my newsletter. But yeah, four groups, 4 things on Facebook, the newsletter and the forum, and you are covered. So you will have all the stuff that's happening. And one of the things you're going to hear about at the Hollywood panel more is just how slow things are, and because of the pandemic and because of the writer strikes, things on the film front have been just dragging along, because everything's been dragging along in the world. It's just been, we can't control that. So, but things are gonna, this year is when things are picking up, let's just say. I can't tell you much more about it.
Let's hope so.
Oh no, we actually know things are picking up, but I can't talk about it. Nobody can talk, we'll see.
Well, we'll find out when Richard joins us later.
Yep.
Now we do have on our schedule, next on the schedule is our first round of trivia. So for those who are planning on participating, make sure that you've got your 2 devices. Make sure that your Kahoot on your tablets and your phones, or whatever you're using as your second device, is up to date, so that you don't have any delays whatsoever to keep you from participating. The chat feature on trivia is disabled, because as you chat, the little chats pop up and it interferes with the screen. And then somebody may not be able to see the question or the answer, and you really don't want to mess somebody else up. We have a competition.
You guys are amazing. All of you trivia contenders of the games. Wow, you guys know your stories. You know the characters. You know everything. So I'm like in awe. We have some people who are like, especially in that later, when you have the champions going off against, the trivia contest of the champions, the game. Whoa. That's something else. Do we have any other questions down there?
I don't see any, so Vera, thank you. And we will talk very soon. So next up, folks, is trivia, followed by all sorts of things that we have planned for you today. And I'll be back a little bit later. I'm going to take a short break, and I'm going to have an early lunch, I think. But I'll be listening, but you won't see me.
I wanted to add, don't forget that the trivia is actually at 12:15. We're trying something new this time, where not all of the panels begin at the top or the bottom of the hour. Yeah, so check the schedules closely so that you don't sit around waiting for a long time in a waiting room because we haven't opened it yet.
Right. And it gives you a little time to like run to the restroom or what, do whatever.
Right.
Yeah, this is not only your time, it's our time to take a personal break for whatever we need a break for.
Because otherwise we're all going straight on with no stopping and
So yeah, so
I mean, you
trivia
know-
12:15. So yeah, as we say where I work, if you need a bio break, now's your chance.
Oh, and if anybody's wondering my background, this was an artwork created by Liz, our artist. Look at this. Guess what this is? It's the circles in stage 3 of the games. Remember the water circles when they had to swim across? And I just got to show this. This is amazing. Isn't this gorgeous? She did this wonderful artwork with the sky of Atlantis, and then like in the middle of the night when Gwen and her team were just kind of resting. So this is one of the circles.
And recordings will be available within a few hours. It's kind of it's an ongoing process for us, so just be patient with us.
Yeah.
Events do disappear after the time slot, so you'll need to look at the bottom where it says, and then just wait for the YouTube videos to show up. All right, with that,
Thanks for
everyone,
coming, and have your questions. Next, come up with questions for the other panels, because we want your answers to be answered. I mean, your questions to be answered.
you know, just pop them in the chat, and then we'll pick them up when we can. And if whoever's moderating, like me or Teri or Sherry or Shelley or Carrie, I combined those two people and it's not nice. Or Liz, you know, if we're busy, you know, we're just chit-chatting, we may not look at the chats, but we have a backup.
Yeah.
So our backup person does look at the chats. Oh, okay, here you go. So thank you, Vera, and everyone, good luck in the games.
Good luck.
And don't forget, and they will tell you, but also do not forget, if you have not already done so, I need the real names of every single person who is on Discord. So just pop me a DM and tell me what your name is, and then I'll notate it so that I can match registrations and I know what's going on. Okay. All right. Thank you, Vera. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.